The poison reached my heart as the throne room doors sealed behind me. I felt it the moment the blade withdrew from between my ribs, the sharp crystalline edge coated in something that burned like frozen fire through my veins. My knees buckled. The marble floor rose to meet me, but long fingers caught my shoulder before impact. Cool and impossibly strong. "Guards," the Queen's voice commanded, not raised, not panicked. Simply absolute. Seal the palace. Find the assassin, now. I couldn't see her face. My vision swam with colors that shouldn't exist. My neural implants screaming warnings I couldn't read anymore. The wound itself wasn't fatal. I'd taken worse in the war, but whatever coated that blade was shutting down my organs one by one. I tried to speak, to tell her to save herself, but my tongue felt thick and useless. She lowered me to the floor with surprising gentleness for someone who could crush stone with her bare hands. The Zaran were not built for softness. 7 feet tall, exoskeletons that gleamed like polished obsidian, 4 arms that could rend steel. Their queens were larger still, engineered for war and rule in equal measure. Ambassador Reeves. Her secondary hands pressed against my chest, over the wound. "Look at me." Queen Shavras' face hovered above mine, her compound eyes reflecting fractured versions of my dying self. Behind her, the vaulted ceiling of the throne room stretched into infinity, covered in bioluminescent patterns that told the history of her people. I'd spent 6 months learning to read them. 6 months building the first peace between humanity and the Zaran collective in 3 centuries of war. 6 months that would die with me on this floor. "The treaty," I managed to rasp. Blood filled my mouth. "Don't let them—" "Dad, you will not speak. You will not waste your strength." Footsteps thundered outside. The royal guard responding. Too late for prevention, but perhaps in time for vengeance. I heard Captain Thash's voice, sharp with controlled fury, demanding reports. Someone screamed. Metal rang against metal. The Queen ignored it all. Her attention remained fixed on me with an intensity that felt like being studied under a microscope. "Your species," she said quietly, "is remarkably fragile. It might have been an insult." From her, in this moment, it sounded almost like wonder. My implant finally failed completely, the heads-up display in my vision going dark. The medical readout that had been counting down my remaining time vanished. I didn't need it anymore. I could feel the poison reaching my brain, turning my thoughts sluggish and strange. The pain had faded. That was worse than if it had intensified. "I'm sorry," I whispered. The words came easier now, which meant my body had stopped fighting. "We were so close." "We were still close, Ambassador." Her secondary hands pressed harder against the wound, though we both knew it was meaningless. "The treaty stands. The peace will hold. Your court. They'll say humans can't be trusted, that we brought an assassin into the palace. My court will say what I tell them to say." Her voice remained calm, but something shifted in her tone. Something that made me focus despite the darkness creeping in from the edges of my vision. "You have been here 6 months, Ambassador Reeves. In that time you have eaten at my table. You have studied our history. You have treated my guards with respect and my advisors with patience. You have never once reached for a weapon, though I know you carried one. I had. A small plasma pistol tucked against my spine that I'd sworn never to draw within these walls. Protocol. Trust. The foundation of everything we'd built." "You think," I said slowly, "someone wants the peace to fail. The question is whether they come from my court or yours." The implications of that settled over me like a shroud. If the assassin was human, Earth would claim I'd been eliminated as a traitor. If Zaran, the collective, would deny any official involvement. Either way, war, unless she could prove otherwise. "Find them," I said. "Whatever it costs, I will." She leaned closer until her face filled my entire field of vision. "But first, Ambassador, you will do something for me. Anything. You will survive. I don't think I have a choice in—" "You do?" Her voice dropped even lower until I could barely hear it over the shouting beyond the doors. "Your people have a reputation, Ambassador Reeves. Do you know what the first Sauron soldiers who encountered human warriors said about your kind?" I shook my head minutely. "They said humans do not know when to die. That you fight past the point of reason, past the point of possibility. That you cling to life with such stubborn ferocity that the universe itself bends to your will." Her compound eyes seemed to darken. "I have read the reports from the Battle of Kepler Station. 23 humans held that station against 4,000 of my people for 6 days. When we finally breached the command deck, the last human defender was still firing with both arms severed. War stories, I managed.
We're just stubborn.
No. Her secondary hands shifted, and I felt something press against my chest, something small and cold that pulsed with a rhythm not my own. You are survivors. It is your species-defining trait. And right now, Ambassador Reeves, I need you to remember that. The cold spread from the device outward, meeting the heat of the poison in my veins. Where they collided, pain exploded through my nervous system. I gasped, or tried to. This will hurt, Queen Shavrath said softly. But you will survive, human, because I am not ready to let you go. The device fused to my sternum felt like it was made of ice and lightning in equal measure. I tried to scream, but my lungs had stopped working properly. The poison had already paralyzed my diaphragm. Darkness bloomed across my vision despite my open eyes. Somewhere distant, I heard the Queen issuing commands in her own language, the guttural clicks and harmonics that I'd learned to parse over 6 months of careful diplomacy. Hands, more than two, lifted me from the floor. I felt weightless and impossibly heavy at the same time. The ceiling spun above me, those bioluminescent histories blurring into rivers of light. I tried to focus on one story, any story, to anchor myself to consciousness, but they all melted together. The throne room doors opened. Cool air rushed in, carrying the scent of the palace gardens, the cultivated hybrid plants that represented our first successful collaboration. Earth flora modified to survive in Zeran atmosphere, Zeran blossoms adapted to human soil composition. Ven's project. She'd been so proud when the first hybrid bloomed. Would she think I'd failed? Would she think the assassin came from our delegation? Medical Bay, the Queen commanded. Route 7, no witnesses. Your Majesty, a voice responded. Captain Tess, I realized, his usual formality strained with urgency. The human medical pod in his quarters would be... He will die in the human pod. Route 7. I was moving, carried by 4 arms that held me with surprising care. The Queen moved ahead, her footsteps heavier, the click of her talons on marble echoing through corridors I couldn't see. We were taking the servant passages, I realized dimly, the hidden arteries of the palace that only the royal family and their most trusted guards knew. She was hiding me. The realization cut through the fog in my mind. If the court saw me like this, dying, the peace would shatter before my heart stopped beating. But if I simply disappeared, if the Queen controlled the narrative... Your Majesty. My voice barely registered as sound. Thank you. Save your gratitude, Ambassador. She didn't look back. You may not thank me when this is done. The device on my chest pulsed faster. Each beat sent a wave of something through my system. Not quite electricity, not quite chemical, but some Zeran hybrid of both that my human biology had no framework to process. My neurons fired in patterns that shouldn't exist. My heart stuttered, stopped, restarted, with a rhythm that felt wrong. We descended. Down through levels of the palace I'd never seen, past chambers whose purposes I couldn't guess, until the air itself changed, became thicker, more humid, carrying a mineral scent that reminded me of deep caves on Earth. The medical bay, when we reached it, was not designed for humans. Bioluminescent panels lit a circular chamber carved from living stone. In the center, a pool of liquid that glowed with a faint purple luminescence. Around the edges, equipment that looked more organic than mechanical, pulsing sacs connected to crystalline arrays, neural interfaces grown rather than built, monitoring systems that whispered to each other in frequencies below human hearing. My people, the Queen said, turning to face me fully for the first time since the throne room, do not die easily. Our biology fights. It adapts. It refuses to yield. She gestured to the pool. That is our medical font. It contains millions of years of evolutionary stubbornness crystallized into biological form. It will read your body. It will fight the poison. It may kill you in the process. You are human. We have never tried this with a human. Her compound eyes studied me. But you are dying regardless, Ambassador Reeves. This gives you a chance. A small one. Captain Theshy stood nearby, his own compound eyes fixed on me with an expression I'd learned to read over the months. Concern mixed with calculation. He was weighing the political implications. If I died in that pool, if my body rejected the treatment, the scandal would be immense. But if the Queen's own medical technology saved a human life, the assassin, I said. The assassin escaped through the garden passage. Thesh's voice remained controlled, but I heard the fury beneath it. They knew the palace layout. They knew your schedule. They knew which blade would penetrate your body armor and exactly where to strike. Inside job, I whispered. Yes. The Queen stepped closer. Her secondary hands began removing my jacket with efficient, impersonal movements. Either someone in your delegation sold you out, or someone in my court decided peace was expendable. Either way, Ambassador, you are in danger, even if you survive. Do you understand? The poison was only the first attempt. Whoever wanted the treaty dead wanted me dead too. And if I lived through this, they'd try again. Put me in, I said. Ambassador, save the peace. I met her eyes as best I could through the haze of dying neural activity. That's why Earth sent me. Not because I'm the best diplomat. Not because I'm the smartest or the most eloquent, but because I'm the one who won't quit until the job is done. Something shifted in her expression. Not quite a smile. The Tsarin didn't smile, but an acknowledgement. A recognition. Captain Thesh, she said quietly. Clear the bay. No one enters. No one knows the ambassador is here. If anyone asks, he returned to human quarters after the attack under heavy guard. The deception is necessary. Go. Then he pressed his secondary hand to his chest in salute and departed, sealing the door behind him. The Queen's hands moved to the device on my chest, adjusting settings I couldn't see. This will synchronize your neural activity with the medical font. It will feel like drowning. It will feel like burning. It will feel like every nerve in your body is being rewritten. Do not fight it. Will I remember? I asked. Remember any of it. The poison had reached my higher brain functions now. Memories were starting to slip, thoughts fragmenting before completion. If I survive but lose myself, then we will rebuild you, Ambassador Reeves. One memory at a time. She lifted me with all four arms, cradling me like a child, despite my 6-foot frame. But I do not think you will forget. Humans, I have learned, cling to everything, especially pain. She carried me to the edge of the pool. The liquid glowed brighter as we approached, responding to body heat or neural activity or some sense I didn't possess. Up close, I could see things moving in it, organisms too small to identify, currents that defied physics, patterns that hurt to look at directly. Your people have a saying, the Queen said, about going gentle into that good night. Rage, I corrected automatically. Rage against the dying of the light. Yes. She positioned me over the pool, her arms still supporting my weight. So rage, Ambassador. Rage and survive. Because if you die here, the war begins again, and I have grown tired of war. She lowered me into the liquid. It was cold, then hot, then neither and both and something else entirely. It rushed into my nose, my mouth, my ears, my wound. The device on my chest screamed with activity. My back arched, every muscle locked. The poison in my veins met the medical font's organisms, and the battle began inside my own biology. I felt myself fragment. My consciousness split into 1,000 competing voices, each one a different version of who I was or who I might have been. The soldier, the diplomat, the son, the survivor. They argued with each other, tearing at my identity, trying to determine which one deserved to live. Through it all, the Queen's voice cut through the chaos. You will survive, human. Not a request, a simple statement of fact, delivered with the absolute certainty of a species that had conquered death itself through sheer evolutionary spite. And deep in the drowning, burning chaos of my own dissolving identity, something stirred. Something stubborn. Something that didn't know how to quit. Something human. Time stopped meaning anything in the pool. Seconds might have been hours. Minutes might have been days. The medical font worked with a logic completely foreign to human medicine. It didn't heal so much as it negotiated, arguing with my cells about whether they wanted to live or die, convincing them one by one that survival was possible. The poison fought back. Whatever had coated that blade was designed specifically to kill humans, tailored to our biology with frightening precision. It attacked hemoglobin, neural receptors, cellular mitochondria simultaneously. No antidote existed because no one had ever survived long enough to be studied. But the font was older than the poison, older than humanity itself. It contained the collected survival mechanisms of a species that had evolved on a world where everything was lethal, where simply existing was an act of defiance against an environment that wanted you dead. It learned the poison. It dissected it, and it began to teach my cells how to fight. I felt the shift when it happened. The pain didn't lessen. If anything, it intensified, but it changed quality. Instead of the dull ache of dying, it became the sharp agony of reconstruction. Every nerve rewiring, every synapse rebuilding, every blood cell learning a new configuration that could process oxygen around the poison rather than despite it. The device on my chest pulsed in sync with my heartbeat, which was in sync with the font, which was in sync with something deeper, the fundamental rhythm of life itself, the stubborn electrical spark that separated living from dead. I surfaced. I was still submerged, still drowning in the glowing liquid, but my consciousness rose from the fragmented chaos, reassembling itself piece by piece. Memories clicked back into place like puzzle pieces. My name. My mission. The treaty. The attack. The Queen. She was still there. I could sense her presence at the edge of the pool, standing watch with a patience that must have been costing her politically. Every minute she spent here was a minute she couldn't spend controlling the narrative in the court, managing the crisis, hunting the assassin. But she remained. Your Majesty, I tried to say. The words came out as bubbles, but somehow, through the device, through the font itself, they carried meaning. Don't speak. Not yet. Her voice filtered through the liquid, distorted but clear. The font is still working. Your neural pathways are 47% reconstructed. Your cellular integrity is 61% restored. The poison is neutralized, but its effects remain. Numbers, data, the Zaron way of processing the world. I understood it better now, floating in their medical technology, feeling my body being rebuilt according to alien logic. They didn't separate emotion from fact. They simply processed both with the same analytical precision. The assassin? I managed. Silence. Then Captain Thays found them. Dead? I asked. Rather than be captured. A pause. They were Zaron. The implications crashed through my partially reconstructed consciousness. A Zaron assassin, using a blade designed to kill humans, knowing the palace layout, knowing my schedule. Your court, I said. One member of it. Advisor Crash. He believed the treaty made us weak, that peace with humans would lead to our evolutionary stagnation. He poisoned others to his thinking. 3 guards. A weapons master who procured the blade. Perhaps more we haven't found yet. Treason. Yes. Her voice carried weight now. The careful neutrality cracking to reveal fury underneath. He struck at you to prove humans could not be trusted, that we could not protect our own allies, that the treaty was built on weakness. He thought I would respond with war, that I would blame Earth, that centuries of conflict would resume and the Zaron collective would remain isolated, pure, evolutionarily distinct. He didn't understand you, I said. No. The word carried finality. He did not. None of them did. They thought I pursued peace because I was weak, because I had grown soft in my rule. They did not realize that peace requires more strength than war ever did, that it takes more courage to extend a hand than to raise a blade. The font pulsed, and I felt something shift deep in my chest. The device was integrating with my body now, becoming part of my biology rather than simply attached to it. I could feel it mapping my neural patterns, learning how human consciousness worked, translating between our species in real time. You're changing me, I realized. I am saving you. The changes are necessary. What kind of changes? But you will carry a piece of Zaron medical technology inside you permanently. The device cannot be removed without killing you. It is now part of your cardiovascular system, your neural network, your immune response. You will heal faster than other humans. You will process toxins more efficiently. You will live longer. And you'll be able to track me, monitor me.
Know what I'm thinking and feeling at all times.
Yes. She didn't try to deny it or soften it. I understand this is a violation of your autonomy. I understand you may hate me for it when you emerge from that pool.
But you were dying, Ambassador.
This was the only way to save you while also ensuring the peace survives. I floated in that processing. She'd turned me into a living verification system. Every negotiation I had with Earth Command, she'd know if I was lying. Every report I filed, she'd sense my true intentions. Every doubt I harbored about the treaty, she'd feel it before I could even fully form the thought. I should have been furious. Should have felt violated. Should have raged against this fundamental invasion of my privacy and humanity. But I didn't, because she was right. This was the only way. Trust between species couldn't be built on faith alone. Not after 3 centuries of war. It needed verification. It needed transparency. It needed 2 people willing to become vulnerable in exactly the same measure. You have one too, I said. Don't you? I synchronized my own neural device to yours when I placed it on your chest. What you feel, I feel. What you know, I know. If you die, the device will send a cascade failure through my own biology. We are linked now, Ambassador Reeves. Permanently. Irrevocably. If one of us betrays the treaty, we both pay the price. It was insane. It was the most profound act of trust I'd ever encountered. Your court will never accept this, I said. My court will accept what I tell them to accept. I am queen. And I have decided that peace with humanity is worth any price, including my own privacy, my own autonomy, my own life. Her voice softened slightly. The question is whether you can accept it. Whether Earth can accept it. Whether your people will see this as the bridge it is meant to be, or as the violation it certainly is. I felt it receding from my body, withdrawing the millions of microscopic organisms that had rebuilt me cell by cell. The pain faded with it, leaving behind a strange tingling sensation as nerves finished reconnecting, as muscles relearned their purposes, as my brain finally stabilized into something resembling normal human consciousness. Air touched my skin. I gasped reflexively, my lungs remembering how to breathe atmosphere instead of liquid. The device on my chest pulsed once, twice, then settled into a rhythm that matched my heartbeat exactly. Hands, 4 of them, lifted me from the pool and laid me on a surface that radiated warmth. I opened my eyes. The medical bay ceiling stretched above me, bioluminescent patterns pulsing in time with my own neural activity. I could see them more clearly now, could almost read the meaning in their configurations. The device was translating, helping me perceive the world the way the Zaron did. Queen Shavroth stood over me, her compound eyes reflecting my own prone form 100 times over. She was holding her secondary hand to her own chest, over a device identical to mine. As I watched it pulsed in perfect synchronization with the one inside me. "How do you feel?" she asked. I took inventory. No pain. No poison, no wound. The blade entry had sealed completely, leaving only a faint scar that the device covered. My thoughts were clear, my body responsive. I felt better than I had before the attack, better than I'd felt in years. "Alive," I said, "thanks to you." "The font could only work because you refused to let go? Another human might have died despite the treatment." She reached down with one primary hand. "Can you stand?" I took her hand and let her pull me upright. World spun for a moment, then stabilized. My balance felt different, more precise, more controlled. I could sense air currents I'd never noticed before. Could hear frequencies that had been silent to me an hour ago. "The device enhances certain perceptions," the Queen explained, clearly feeling my confusion through our link. "It will take time to adjust. Weeks, perhaps months, but you will adapt. Humans always do." I looked down at my chest. The device was barely visible beneath my skin, just a faint outline in silver blue that pulsed with my heartbeat. It didn't feel foreign. It felt like it belonged there, like it had always been there, like my body had simply been waiting for this missing piece to become complete.
"What do I tell Earth?" I asked.
"The truth. That you were attacked. That you survived through Zaron medical intervention. That the peace is worth defending with both our lives." She paused. "And that anyone who seeks to destroy the treaty will have to kill us both. They'll think I've been compromised. That you've turned me into some kind of puppet. Or perhaps they will see what I see, a man who was willing to die for peace, and now carries the proof of that commitment inside his own body." Her compound eyes studied me. "You are not compromised, Ambassador Reeves. You are changed." "There is a difference." I tested my legs, taking a few careful steps around the medical bay. Everything worked. Better than worked. I felt strong, coordinated, alive in a way I'd never experienced before. The device was optimizing my biology in real time, making micro-adjustments to muscle efficiency and neural response. "I can feel you," I said quietly. "Not your thoughts exactly, but your presence. Like you're standing just behind me, always. It is disconcerting, but not unpleasant." She moved to a cabinet carved into the stone wall, retrieving a fresh set of clothes, human style, in my size. She'd prepared for this possibility. The bond will strengthen over time. We will learn to shield certain thoughts, to maintain some privacy, but the emotional truth will always be there. "I will know if you hate me, if you regret this, if you doubt the peace, and I'll know the same about you. Yes."
She handed me the clothes.
"Dress. We must return to the court soon. They believe you are recovering in your quarters, but the deception cannot hold forever. When you emerge, there will be questions, demands, perhaps even accusations." Are you prepared for that? I pulled on the shirt, feeling the fabric against my newly sensitive skin. Your Majesty, I was prepared to die for this treaty. I think I can handle some difficult questions. For the first time since I'd known her, Queen Shavroth made a sound that might have been laughter. It came out as a series of clicks and harmonics that the device in my chest translated into something like amusement mixed with respect. You truly are stubborn, Ambassador Reeves. You have no idea, Your Majesty. Every surface seemed more vivid, every sound more distinct. The device was still adjusting my perceptions, still teaching me how to process the world the way the Zaron did. I could smell the mineral composition of the stone walls, could hear the pulse of bioluminescent organisms in the ceiling panels, could sense the body heat of guards 3 corridors away. It will stabilize, the Queen said, sensing my disorientation through our link. In a few days you'll learn to filter the excess input. For now, try to focus on what's directly in front of you. We took the servant passages again, avoiding the main halls where courtiers might see us together. The political implications of the Queen personally escoraging a human ambassador through the palace would trigger speculation she couldn't afford right now. We stopped at a junction where 2 passages met. I could hear voices echoing from the left path, guards, discussing the assassination attempt in clipped, professional tones. They'd sealed the throne room, interrogated everyone who'd been present, found the garden passage the assassin used to escape. They're loyal, the Queen said quietly, following my attention. But loyalty is not the same as trustworthiness. Advisor Kresh was loyal to the collective. He simply disagreed about what that loyalty required. How many more like him do you think there are? In my court? Perhaps 5 or 6 who share his ideology. Among the general population? Thousands. The war lasted 3 centuries, Ambassador. That kind of conflict doesn't end just because we sign documents. It ends when the generation that remembers the fighting dies and their children have only known peace. Then we have decades of work ahead of us. Which is why you needed to survive. She started walking again, leading me down the right-hand passage. The treaty is fragile. It requires constant maintenance, constant negotiation, constant proof that cooperation benefits both species. If you had died today, that proof would have died with you. We emerged into a section of the palace I recognized, the diplomatic wing, where the human delegation had their quarters. My room was at the end of the hall, guarded by 2 Zaron soldiers in full ceremonial armor. They snapped to attention when they saw the Queen, their secondary hands moving to their weapons before they recognized me beside her. Ambassador Reeves, the senior guard said, his voice carefully neutral. We believed you were resting. I was, in the Queen's medical bay. I kept my voice steady, projecting calm I didn't entirely feel. Her Majesty saved my life. The guards exchanged a look. They knew what that meant. Knew that human physiology and Zaran medical technology were fundamentally incompatible. Knew that if the Queen had intervened, it meant I'd been changed somehow. The delegation has been asking for confirmation of your status, the junior guard said. Dr. Ven has requested access 5 times. Ambassador Chen has filed 3 formal inquiries about your condition. And tell them I'll brief everyone in an hour. Full delegation meeting in the conference room. I glanced at the Queen. With your Majesty present, if she's willing. The delegation deserves to hear the truth directly from both of us. The guard saluted and stepped aside. I entered my quarters with the Queen following, the door sealing behind us. The room was exactly as I'd left it this morning. Bed unmade, reports scattered across the desk, a half-finished cup of coffee that had long since gone cold. This morning, was it really the same day? It felt like a lifetime had passed. Sit, the Queen commanded, gesturing to the chair. You may feel strong, but your body is still adjusting. You need to rest before facing the delegation. I sat, mostly because she was right. The adrenaline was fading, and exhaustion was creeping in to replace it. The device could optimize my biology, but it couldn't create energy from nothing. The Queen moved to the window, looking out over the palace gardens. From here, we could see the hybrid plants Dr. Ven had cultivated, earth roses growing alongside Jiran crystal flowers, their incompatible chemistries somehow balanced through careful manipulation. They will ask about the device, she said without turning. They will ask what it does, what it means, what I can learn from it. And I'll tell them the truth. The truth will frighten them. Some will say you've been compromised, that I've turned you into a spy for the collective, that this was my plan all along, to bind the human ambassador to me through technology they can't understand or remove. Were they wrong? She turned to face me, her compound eyes unreadable. That depends on your definition of compromise. I have not altered your thoughts. I have not programmed you to obey. I have not planted false memories or hidden commands. What I have done is create a bond that makes betrayal impossible for either of us. Is that compromise or is it trust? I considered the question seriously. The device pulsed in my chest, a constant reminder of our connection. I could feel her presence, her emotional state, the underlying truth of her intentions. She wasn't lying. She couldn't lie, not to me, not anymore. The link went both ways. It's trust, I said finally. Enforced trust. Which isn't quite the same as chosen trust, but it's better than the alternative. Which is? Another 3 centuries of war. Millions dead. Entire worlds burned. All because we couldn't figure out how to believe each other. I stood up, moving to join her at the window. I'm not happy about the device, Your Majesty. I'm not happy about losing that piece of my privacy, my autonomy, my basic human right to my own thoughts.
But I understand why you did it. And if our positions were reversed, if I'd found a dying Zaran queen and had the technology to save her while also securing the peace,
I'd have made the same choice. Then, you continue to surprise me, Ambassador Reeves. That's what humans do best. We surprise people. Usually by not dying when we're supposed to. Yes, she turned back to the gardens. I can feel your exhaustion. You should rest before the delegation meeting. I will return to the court and manage the immediate crisis. In 1 hour, we will face them together. Together? I agreed. She moved toward the door, then paused. Ambassador, there is something else you should know. The device does more than create a bond between us. It also serves as a proof of concept. For what? For integration. If human and Zaran biology can be successfully linked through technology, it suggests possibilities neither of our species has considered. Medical cooperation. Technological sharing. Perhaps eventually, genetic compatibility. You're talking about hybrid children. I'm talking about a future where our species are not simply allies, but family, where the distinction between human and Zaran becomes as meaningless as the distinction between Earth nations became meaningless when your people finally unified. She opened the door. It is a long path. Decades or centuries. But it begins with 2 people willing to trust each other completely. Even if that trust is enforced by circumstance, she left the door sealing behind her. I stood alone in my quarters, one hand pressed to the device in my chest, feeling it pulse in synchronization with hers somewhere in the palace above. The future she described felt impossible. Felt like science fiction. But then again, so had peace between our species. So had surviving an assassination attempt with alien medical technology. So had standing here, alive, when every rational prediction said I should be dead. Humans were good at the impossible. We'd proven that over and over throughout our history. We'd reached impossible stars, survived impossible environments, built impossible civilizations. Maybe trusting an alien queen completely wasn't so impossible after all. I set an alarm for 45 minutes and collapsed onto the bed. Sleep came instantly, deep and dreamless. The device managed my rest cycle, optimizing neural recovery, preparing me for the confrontation ahead. When I woke, I felt ready. The conference room was packed, not just the human delegation. All 12 of them, but also representatives from the Zaran court, including Captain Thesh and 3 advisors whose expressions ranged from curious to hostile. The queen sat at the head of the table, her 4 hands folded in a posture that conveyed calm authority. I took the seat to her right, the traditional position for a trusted advisor. Dr. Venn was the first to speak. Ambassador Reeves, we were told you were critically injured, that the wound was fatal. Yet here you sit, apparently unharmed. Would you care to explain? She was angry. I could hear it underneath the professional tone. Angry that she'd been lied to, angry that I'd disappeared, angry that the medical crisis had been handled without consulting Earth's experts. Fair emotions. I would have felt the same. I was dying, I said simply. The blade that struck me was coated with a poison designed specifically to kill humans. Our medical technology had no counter for it. I would have been dead in 15 minutes. Then how? Queen Shavrath saved my life using Zaran medical technology. Technology that required direct integration with my biology. Technology that is now permanently part of my physiology. I opened my shirt, exposing the device on my chest. This is the result. Everyone stared at the silver-blue outline pulsing beneath my skin. Ambassador Chen, the political officer, found his voice first. You allowed an alien device to be implanted in your body? Without consulting Earth Command? Without proper authorization? I was unconscious and dying. Her Majesty made the decision to save my life. I confirmed that decision when I regained consciousness. I met his eyes steadily. Would you have preferred I died to preserve bureaucratic protocol? I would have preferred you didn't put yourself in a position where an alien queen could modify your biology without oversight. The queen's voice cut through the rising tension. Ambassador Chen, your concerns are noted. But let me be perfectly clear about what occurred. Ambassador Reeves was attacked by a member of my own court, a Zoran advisor who believed peace with humanity would weaken the collective. The assassin is dead. The conspiracy has been exposed. 3 guards who conspired with him are in custody. The threat has been neutralized. For now, Chen said darkly. But what about future threats? What about the fact that our ambassador now carries Zaran technology that you control? I don't control it, the queen said. It creates a neural link between the ambassador and myself.
What he feels?
I feel. What I feel, he feels. It is a bond of mutual vulnerability, not control. To demonstrate this, I will share something I have told no one else in my court. She paused, her compound eyes sweeping the room. I carry an identical device, synchronized to the ambassador's. If he dies, I die. If I die, he dies. Our fates are now permanently linked. The room erupted. Zaran advisors clicked and harmonized in agitation. Human delegates shouted questions and objections. Shen looked like he might have a stroke. Only Dr. Ven remained quiet, her scientist's mind already working through the implications. This is madness, one of the Zaran advisors declared. You have bound yourself to a human, made yourself vulnerable to their weapons, their poisons, their inevitable betrayal. Yes, the Queen said calmly, just as Ambassador Reeves has made himself vulnerable to ours. That is the point. Trust requires vulnerability. Peace requires risk. Neither species can betray the other without destroying this bond, and neither of us can afford to lose what we represent to our respective peoples. It's brilliant, Dr. Ven said quietly. All eyes turned to her. She stood, moving closer to examine the device on my chest with clinical fascination. Don't you see? This solves the fundamental problem of interspecies diplomacy. We can't trust each other's words because we have no shared framework for honesty. Our social cues don't match. Our tells don't translate. But this, she gestured to the device, this creates a biological verification system. They literally cannot lie to each other without both sides knowing immediately. It also makes Ambassador Reeves a security risk, Chen countered. The Queen knows everything he knows. Every classified briefing. Every strategic discussion with Earth Command. Every private conversation with the delegation. She has complete access to his thoughts. Not complete, I corrected. The link is emotional, not cognitive. She can sense my feelings about things, but not the specific content of my thoughts. I can tell when she's being truthful, but I can't read her mind. It's more like empathic awareness than telepathy. And you're comfortable with that level of intrusion? Was I? The question deserved honest consideration. The device pulsed in my chest, and I felt the Queen's attention through our link. She was curious about my answer, concerned that I might harbor resentment that would poison our working relationship. No, I said truthfully. I'm not comfortable with it. I value my privacy. I value my autonomy. I value the basic human right to keep my thoughts and feelings to myself. But I'm also not comfortable with the alternative. I'm not comfortable with another 3 centuries of war. I'm not comfortable with billions of deaths that could be prevented if we could just learn to trust each other. So yes, I'm uncomfortable, but I accept it. Because some things are worth being uncomfortable for. The Queen's gratitude flowed through the link, subtle but unmistakable. I felt a relief that I understood, that I wasn't going to fight this, that we could move forward together despite the violation it represented. Captain Thesh stepped forward. The device can be monitored. We can develop protocols to ensure the ambassador maintains operational security despite the link. Sensitive discussions can be conducted in shielded rooms. Classified information can be delivered through methods that don't trigger emotional responses. It is manageable. And what about Earth Command? Chen demanded. What about the bureaucrats and generals who will never accept that their ambassador has been permanently altered by alien technology? What about public opinion when this becomes known? Then we demonstrate the value, I said. We use this link to accomplish things no unmodified diplomat could accomplish. We build trust faster, we negotiate more effectively. We prove that integration is possible, even desirable. We become living evidence that humans and Zaran can not just coexist, but actively cooperate. Dr. Venn was nodding. This could revolutionize how we approach interspecies relations. If the link works as described, it could be adapted for other contexts. Medical cooperation, scientific collaboration, even casual social interaction between our species. You're talking about modifying humans wholesale, one of the delegation members said. About turning people into half-Zaran hybrids. I'm talking about building bridges, Dr. Venn replied. About finding common ground where biology and technology intersect. This isn't about replacing humanity. It's about expanding what humanity can be. The argument continued, but I could feel the room shifting. The delegates were scared, yes, but also intrigued. The possibilities were too significant to dismiss out of hand.
And the fact remained that I was alive, functional, and apparently uncompromised despite the device. The Queen raised one hand, calling for silence.
This discussion can continue. In fact, it must continue. These are profound questions that will require years of careful consideration, ethical debate, and public discourse. But today, right now, we have more immediate concerns. Ambassador Reeves was attacked. The conspiracy has been exposed, but we must rebuild trust among both our peoples. We must show that the peace is worth defending, that cooperation between our species is not just possible, but preferable to the alternative. How do you propose we do that? Chen asked. By doing what we said we would do when we signed the treaty. By opening trade. By sharing technology. By allowing our peoples to interact, to learn, to build relationships that transcend the historical animosity. She stood, her full height, imposing in the confined space. And by demonstrating that when one of us is threatened, the other responds not with war, but with protection. Ambassador Reeves was attacked by one of mine. I saved his life and bound myself to his fate. Let that be the story that spreads through both our civilizations. Let that be the proof that this peace is real. Even Chen seemed to have run out of objections. There will be another delegation meeting tomorrow, I said, to discuss implementation details, security protocols, and public messaging. But for now, I suggest we all take time to process what's happened. Dr. Venn, I'd appreciate if you'd examine the device and give me your professional opinion on its effects. The rest of you, please prepare your reports for Earth Command. Be honest about your concerns, but also about the opportunities this presents. They filed out slowly, some still arguing in hushed tones, others deep in thought. Dr. Venn lingered, her scanner already out and trained on my chest. Fascinating, she murmured. The integration is seamless. I'm reading neural activity that shouldn't be possible in human tissue. It's like the device taught your cells how to process information the way Zaran cells do. She looked up, meeting my eyes. How do you feel? Physically, I mean. Stronger. More alert. My senses are sharper. Side effects? Heightened perception. Everything's more intense, and the emotional link with Her Majesty is constant. Not overwhelming, but always there. She made notes on her pad. I'll want to run full diagnostics. Blood work, neural scans, metabolic analysis. We need to understand exactly what this device is doing to you.
Agreed, but Dr.
Then, I waited until she looked up. This works. The link. The bond. It's not comfortable, but it's effective. Keep that in mind when you're writing your reports. You've changed, Marcus, not just physically. There's something different about how you're carrying yourself. More confident. More certain. Or came close enough that the difference doesn't matter. That changes a person.
Yes, I suppose it does.
She packed up her scanner. I'll schedule the diagnostics for tomorrow morning. Try to get some rest tonight. Your body may be enhanced, but you've still been through trauma. I was alone with the Queen. That went better than expected, I said. Yes, though Ambassador Chen will be a problem.
He does not trust easily.
But I trust you. The words came out before I could think about them, raw and honest. Through the link, I felt her surprise. Not because of the device. Because you saved my life when you could have let me die. When letting me die might have been politically safer. You chose the harder path. That means something. You would have done the same. Maybe. Probably.
But you did it first.
I moved to the window again, looking out at the gardens one more time. What happens now, Your Majesty? Now we prove them wrong. The skeptics. The cynics. The ones who think peace between our species is impossible. We show them what cooperation looks like. What trust looks like. What integration looks like. And if we fail, Then we die together, Ambassador Reeves. But I do not intend to fail. Do you? I press my hand to the device in my chest, feeling it pulse in sync with hers somewhere in the palace. 2 hearts beating as one. 2 lives bound by technology and choice, and the desperate hope that peace was possible. No, Your Majesty. I don't intend to fail either. Outside, the hybrid plants swayed in the evening breeze, Earth and Jaran biology growing side by side in perfect harmony. If plants could manage it, maybe people could too. Maybe we already were.